So your story is one of the most extraordinary because you went out there as a volunteer to fight against ISIS. You came face to face with these people. Would you be inclined to let them back in?
Well, not until we get the legislation right. Already, the British government's record on this is not good. Just 1 in 10 jihadis that have come back to the UK from Syria have faced court. So what we really need to do is we need to introduce new legislation that's going to target ISIS fighters and those that have supported them. Or indeed, we double down our support for the SDF in Syria to actually keep the Islamic State fighters who have committed crimes in Syria and Iraq in sort of a prison system there. So there's a couple of different options.
Are they more dangerous here, as things stand, than there?
Well, at the moment, the camps are quite lawless, particularly in the female camps where they've got a lot more freedom. Just recently, a young girl was murdered by her grandmother. We've got cases where SDF fighters are no longer able to patrol without going in significant numbers because they're being attacked by the female jihadists. So there is the possibility that they could escape from the camps as well. There was one just a few months ago when a large body of men were able to get out of a camp and they tried to get to Turkey. So the idea is, or at least what the SDF is calling for, is that Britain and America give a significant amount of resources so they can, first of all, keep these people in prison and also create a judicial system that will be capable of trying them in the future.
You don't think we are capable of that now?
Not in the way we are now. I mean, the trouble is, there was a case just recently where a young lady was let free from prison just after 2 years of jail time. There are numerous examples whereby people have escaped justice. Already there are hundreds, potentially, of jihadists on the streets. So what we really need to do is create legislation that works and targets ISIS fighters.
Do you recognise the moral responsibility that the Americans pointed out in Mark's film, that if Kosovo can do it, then for the UK to say we're not, you know, a sort of sophisticated Western country with a very good judicial system, it is a proper dereliction of our duty? Well,
as long as, because there really are two paths. It is perfectly legitimate for Britain to say that those people who committed crimes in Syria and Iraq face trial in where they committed their crimes. But what we can't do is simply wipe our hands of the situation and not properly fund the SDF, who are at the moment are struggling. They're struggling to feed the hundreds of thousands of dependents and refugees that they're already feeding. Already the SDF have taken a pay cut, apparently, to feed the camps where something like 70,000 ISIS supporters are being held. So as well as being lawless, it's a terrible drain on resources.